Hi everyone, and good afternoon to all of you, and welcome to today's discussion on GSJC-TV. The right to keep and bear arms is a right for people to possess weapons for the prevention of life, liberty, and property. Only a few countries recognize an individual right to keep and bear arms and protect it constitutionally, with more classifying it as statutory privilege granted to some segment of the population. My name is Parminder Singh, and I am here to discuss the topic all people should have the right to own guns or not. Today, I am the moderator for the today's discussion, and for our discussion, we have the amazing group of panelists with us today. So, I would like to welcome Mr. Vignesh Ramanathan. He is the fourth year law student from in Jindal Global Law School. Welcome, Mr. Vignesh. And second,
Good
we
evening.
have And second, we have Miss Avneet Kaur Benipal. She is the third year student in the Jindal School of International Affairs. And in the last, we have Yayat. Uh, he's the third year law student in Jindal Global Law School. So welcome all. So
Well,
my
thank you,
first
Parminder.
question I would like to ask: does everybody should have the right to own guns or not? Does giving everybody the right to own guns will promote more gang war and killings? And as an easy access to guns can lead to more violent crime. So, what's the, what you so, Mr. Vignesh, what you would like to say on this?
Do I have a time limit prescribed?
Yeah.
Do I have a
Yes.
time limit that has been prescribed?
Oh no no. We can here talk for 10 minutes. Oh,
Am I audible? Yes.
so no,
I'm really
so
sorry
we
for the plug.
Okay, no issue at all. So we can here talk for an about of 10 minutes.
Right. So, on the issue of gun laws, I mean, I want to make three specific arguments, and I place my arguments first on question of history. So, historically, where do we see guns being prescribed as a right? Are those countries who have fundamentally created as a reason of colonialization, right? So there has been a tension in these countries from the very beginning of their creation that one day, if the colonizers which we defeated so ardently comes back, how do we defend ourselves? Are we really capable of that power? And so there was an argument that okay, let's give the citizens the right to bear arms, right? But as we have seen that these countries who have come out of colonization, they have grown into substantial military in substantial military conditions, and because now they have an organized and a continuously trained armies. I mean, the historical reason of prescribing the right to bear arms is no more relevant, right? The second question is on personal choices, that whether citizens have an individual choice to bear arms. And this comes from the fact that, okay, the society that we live in requires us to prevent. It is a competitive environment, and competition results in violence. So the violence needs to be curtailed by a reverse burden on the citizens to use violence to prevent themselves. So the narrative is quite conflicting. In this regard, I would like to argue that, I mean, look at the scenarios where the conflict emerges. The first is on question of lack of state security. So because there is a lack of state security, state is not able to invest enough money to protect its citizens. What it does is it divulges its burden onto the citizens, like you save yourself, we are not going to invest money on your safety anymore. In such a state, I mean, by allowing citizens to bear arm, the state is in fact disburdening itself. It is moving away from the welfare conception. So it is leading to a failed state in that case. The second question is on how these countries have high range of crimes. The impact is not just with guns, right? There was a period when in the feudal state of Japan, even children were allowed to bear swords. And then came a period of 200 years of ban on any form of weaponry. And in those 200 years, when weaponry was absolutely banned, not just for adults but even for children or anyone for that matter, except for the military order, what reigned was a 200 years of peace. So there the conflict in internally also reduces the moment you reduce weaponization of people. So you cut off the supply of weaponry in total, not just for I mean for historical purpose, but also for self safety, etc. The third is on the question of restriction. Now many will come and argue that okay, let's not have an absolute right, let's have a restricted right. Now my question is, let us consider one of the strictest gun laws in the world. The country is India. India has one of the strictest gun laws in the world, where uh, it uses a blanket definition of anything that comprises of prohibited arms. So anything and everything is protected from the question of law. Yet we see that about in a report by some independent think tank, which research conducted in 2016, they come up with the statistics that India is third highest in gun violence. So restriction would further promote violence. How? That okay, let's restrict the absolute right to bear arms. What people will find is alternate modes. People will find black marketing to run away from the regulation. Now one might argue, okay, let's ban all forms of guns. Wouldn't that black marketing not occur? Then certainly the arm of regulation is such that when you restrict everything, when you have a blanket restriction, you can identify the source of illegal activity. And so because the source is identifiable, the state's control is increased. So state is viably equipped to identify people uh, who are engaging into illegal gun activities. So an absolute restriction should be the demand towards gun control, that there should be no guns that could be owned. So that is my stance. Thank you,
Okay.
Parminder.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Vignesh. So, Mr. Vignesh has given us his opinion. So, Mr. Avneet, can you tell about this? Can you give your opinion on this?
Um, yeah, hi. I would like to say that, everyone should own guns for their own safety purposes. As we're in India, if you call that, that I call it that India has the strict laws for, guns, like they're very strict about it. But after all, it's India. You get anything and everything here, even if, it's illegal. So I don't think restricting will, actually make a difference. I think everyone should own guns so that it's not like basically you feel safer with guns. Yeah, that's all I would like to say. Even in the national survey, if we find that half of the gun owners, there are like 48% volunteers that may the main reason for them owning a gun is like they say that we're owning it for our safety, and we feel safer with it, because even if like me particularly, I'm from Punjab. All right, there's a lot of gang wars here that go on. So in that case, if you say that without a gun you're going to be safe at your place, having no troubles, you're wrong there, because there are many innocent people who killed in most of the gang wars. Just reason being because they don't have anything to protect themselves.
Okay. Thanks, Avneet, for giving your opinion. So, last but not the least, we are left with the Yayat. So, Mr. Yayat, can you give your opinion on this?
Yes, I also feel that firearms should not be openly allowed to be owned by the citizens. as it is very dangerous. And if you make it a normalcy, just if you compare it to the US, where it's a constitutional right to own a firearm, we see the number of school shootings happening and the public massacres that happen in that country. And I feel it would directly lead to something similar on Indian soil too, and it won't make any sense. Like for instance, if somebody is used to owning a gun and sleeps with a gun on their bedside, and if they hear somebody walking up in their room at night and they pick up the gun and shoot, and then they later realize that it was one of their family members and not somebody who was willing to harm them or anything in that matter. I think that is what scenario is that I can make up for owning a gun. That if it's normalized and it's allowed, then it'll be a huge problem.
Okay. Okay, thanks, Mr. Yayat, for giving your opinion. So, my next question that I would like to ask is: does India going to be safer by reducing licensed ownership of firearms? So, Mr. Vignesh, can you give your opinion on this?
I mean, the restriction, the statement of restriction is not a matter of law, it is a matter of principle that India sends in. So, the moment India imposes a complete embargo on any form of gun licenses, the statement that it sends outside morally is that India is on a India is traveling on its fundamental principles of peace and prosperity. That is one. Second is that okay, the restriction will not. I mean, restrictions can never occur as a soliloquous statement. It cannot just be a restriction. It has to go with other substantive processes, which include education, which include sensitization, and all these practices only. So a restriction in the reduction in the number of licenses is not going to do anything on its own. You need to bulk it up with other measures, right? So my stance is that one, that there should be absolute restriction on any form of gun licenses, and two, that it should be substantiated with other forms of law that sensitizes people against the use of guns.
So, thank you, Vignesh, for giving us your opinion. So, Avneet, can you give your opinion on this? So, same question for you.
Um, yeah, I really think that, in India, people the licensed guns should be allowed. Because if you actually, the license now in India is not that easy to get for your like for the arms license. It's not that easy to get that. You have to go through a lot of process. My brother, like personally, my brother, he's like 25. He's a lawyer. It was so tough for him also to get a license. That too, we know that in India, it's all a political game. You have to actually go bribe a few people, and then how like when it's under the law and you can actually you're eligible, you still don't get to get a license without bribing anyone. So it's basically the system. So I really think that this should be made a lot more easier, because if everyone has a gun license, so it's very easy to find out about the people, about the person who's actually shot or done any any incident that occurred. So it's easier to find out the person who has the gun. And if people don't, as you already know, that half of the population, I guess, have unlicensed guns, like in the gang wars and everywhere. So, it's very difficult to find out that, who was the person who was actually responsible for an incident. So I really think that the license for arms should be made easier in India. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much to all our panelists for joining us today and for granting us your special time and contributing via your opinion and thoughts. I would like to say thanks to you, all of you. And so we are here live. Thanks. Thanks, Avneet. Thanks, Mr. Vignesh. Thanks, Yayat.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bharpinder.
Okay.